Hello there, everybody, and welcome to this September edition of a series of ramblings and analysis. Anthony joining you once again, and like the last video, this is basically just going to be me rambling on about whatever I feel like in terms of games that I seem to enjoy. So, before we get started, though, I do want to mention one thing, and that's that the preview analysis for the LAT gunship and the HMP gunship for X-Wing are not going to be in here, and that's because I've actually already uploaded my analysis of those, so that way I could have that out before their release date, which was, at least at the time I'm recording this intro, September 25th. We'll see if that holds or not. But if that's the case, those analyses will be, no matter what, the analyses will be in a separate video, I should say. But regardless, again, I'm recording this ahead of time, so I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. But without any further delay, let's get started. Okay, so for pretty much all of today, I thought, okay, I'm going to have to wait till tomorrow until that HMP preview drops. But then note just that, like, what is it, 4:30, FFG goes ahead and drops the announcement for the Wasp Hero pack that's coming up. So we already saw the Ant-Man one. If this pack is anything like that, I am going to be super hyped for it, because Ant-Man, again, I talked about this in the last Ramblings video, or at least the last regular one, not the X-Wing specific one, but Ant-Man looks really fun just because he kind of reminds me of how Transformers plays. So if Wasp is anything like that, that's going to be two heroes that I'm going to be absolutely playing as much as I can. And I'll probably still stick with my Iron Man shenanigans, but always fun to see stuff like this. So I haven't looked at this yet, so let's start off by looking at some of these cards. So we have the hero thing here. We'll deal with that later. A new leadership event, All for One. It's an attack action, probably in hero mode. Deal 3 damage, something, and exhaust any number of characters you control. Deal something. So you get to deal a set amount of damage, and then deal extra damage if you attack or if you exhaust extra characters. At least I think that's what the effect is. As a 2 cost, could be decent, but you'd have to play a pretty heavy ally heavy deck. So there's that. We've got a new aggression card, surprise attack. It's a hero response, something about changing form, it looks like, so I'm not going to go too far into that. We have Wasp Sting, 2 different hero actions. One, if you're in giant form, you deal total of 4 damage among enemies as you choose, and if you're in tiny form, you deal 5 damage to an enemy. Okay, so this could definitely play either way, and against Ultron, that is going to be nuts. And if you're wondering why I talk about Ultron so damn much, go watch the 3rd episode of Allies of Convenience and then come back here. You'll figure out pretty quickly why I talk about Ultron a lot. So that's looking pretty good as a 2 cost. Then tiny and giant forms are back, so there's that. Biosynthetic wings. Wasp gains the aerial trade interrupt when you would take any amount of damage. If you are in tiny form, exhaust biosynthetic wings, prevent that damage. Okay, so just as a once per turn instant shield, so that's fun. And looking at the full thing now, so we have, of course, the standard, we have the tiny Wasp form, so 1 attack, 1 thwart, 2 defense, so a decent defender. Response effect after Wasp or an event you play defeats a minion or side scheme, deal 1 damage to the villain. Okay, so just as a way to get some additional chip damage out. And thwarting cards, so like Justice would pair well with that. Giant form, 2 attack, 2 thwart, 3 defense. On the thwart effect, threat you remove using your basic thwart power can be divided among schemes. Oh, I am liking that. Because one of the biggest problems I have is trying to figure out which side schemes to go for. I'm already liking this better than Ant-Man, and I like Ant-Man a lot. So, damage you deal can be divided amongst enemies as you choose. More drone counters. Okay, Wasp is becoming my new go-to when I'm fighting Ultron, for sure. And maybe whatever the scenario is out of Green Goblin, in which Green Goblin doesn't transform between Osborn and Green Goblin. I don't remember what the scenario name is. I think it was like mutagen formula or something like that. I don't know, but this is, oh my god, this is going to be fun. And also, like I said with the Ant-Man thing, if you have any of those Transformers Combiner top loaders, pull them out. You're going to need them for this. So hand size of 5 in both tiny and giant form. And then Nadia Van Dyne, hand size of 6. As an action, shuffle up to 2 cards with a printed chem resource from your discard pile into your deck. once per round. Okay, so you just have some resource management there. Again, that's really dependent on the cards you're playing, so I'm not going to say too much there. So moving on, Giant Help. So it's an event, thwart event. Remove 3 threat from a scheme. Remove a total of 4 threat divided among schemes if you're in giant form. Okay, so if you're in tiny form, then you get to remove 3 threat from a single scheme, but if you're in giant form, you get to divide that up amongst everything else. So it's basically an upgraded version of your standard hero thwart in giant mode. So that's fun. Let's see what else. Pinpoint Strike. Hero action attack. Deals 7 damage to an enemy. If you're in tiny hero form, this attack deals 1 additional damage and gains overkill. Okay, so Relentless Assault is a fairly decent card. This is that on steroids. And here's the thing. And if you don't need the overkill, you still have just the straight 7 damage. So that's interesting. So we're seeing some interactions with Wasp where you can use the cards whenever, but if you're in a specific mode, you get a bit of a boost. So Swarm Tactics, this is a generic event, or a basic event, excuse me. Team up Ant-Man and Wasp once you're, max 1 per deck. Okay, so change to your other hero form, ready your hero. Now, what the heck is this? Okay, so a copy of this also appears in the Ant-Man pack. Let's read what it says here. With the team-up keyword targeting Ant-Man and Wasp, you can only play this card if you can see both Ant-Man and Wasp on the table. But even if you're playing with... okay, so we'll get to that in a moment. So if you are playing with multiple people and at least 2 people have Ant-Man and Wasp as their characters, then you can play that card. But it says here that if you're playing with different heroes or playing solo, Wasp features Ant-Man as her signature ally, giving you a way to play Swarm Tactics. Now, there's probably... Was there a card that... was there a Wasp ally in the Ant-Man deck? I don't remember. If there was, I'll insert the clip here. Not sure if that's the case at the moment, but you just saw if there's a Wasp card in there or not from what the reveal article for Ant-Man said. But you can play this with Ant-Man if you have a Wasp ally, and for Wasp, for sure, you can play this if you have your Ant-Man ally out in play. So it's just another way to, well, you change your form and you ready your hero. I did not notice that at first. And with Nadia's alter ego action, you're able to shuffle that back in if necessary. So that's actually pretty decent. So in terms of other cards, we have Jane Foster as Thor. 1 thwart, 2 attack, 1 consequential damage, 4 cost, 4 health. After you play Thor from your hand, deal 2 damage to the villain, 3 if you've paid using a 5th resource. Okay, so this is something we've been seeing a lot of, where you get a base effect, and then if you paid with a specific resource, then you do extra damage. So nothing too special there, but hey, it's an interesting effect, and it unfortunately doesn't have the chem resource, which makes sense. But if it did, then you could shuffle it back in with Nadia. Lie in Wait, max 1 per player. It's a preparation card, so if you're using Black Widow, keep that in mind. And these are both aggression cards, I should mention. Hero Response Attack. After a minion engages you, discard Lie in Wait and deal 3 damage to that minion. Okay, so if a high-powered minion comes out, you can just use this as a quick way to snap shoot them for something. So, and then Surprise Attack. Oh, we have the full card here. So after you change form, deal 3 damage to an enemy, 4 if you paid using a fist resource. So again, this really goes for anybody. Actually, it doesn't really affect Ant-Man or Wasp anymore, considering you still only get 1 form change per turn. So there's that. Yeah, I think that's everything in here. We're also getting the mask or the mat, but that's pretty standard. So yeah, honestly, like I thought we were just gonna get a slightly different version of Ant-Man. I honestly think Wasp might be better. So definitely against Ultron, Wasp is going to be better, but hopefully once I get my hands on this stuff, I don't have a physical copy of Champions actually accessible to me right now, so you'll be seeing me mess around on Tabletop Simulator, but once I do have a copy available to me once again, I will do some live action testing. But okay, I thought I was excited for Ant-Man, and then Wasp comes and shows up and it's just like, hold my drink. Oh my god, I have no words. This looks amazing, especially considering, again, my hatred for Ultron. So, yeah, I think that does it for this. So, moving on to the next thing. Okay, so we're talking about Warhammer for the first time in forever, and just looking at the things on the front, this could get interesting with this Codex show preview. So, first thing I'm seeing right off the bat, looks like some sort of new captain. Wait, is that a plasma incinerator? If that's the case, I'm buying one, no question, because Dark Angels. And then looks like a new Eradicator, a couple of new Necron models, new Death Guard models, some type of Terminator. So let's go ahead and dive in and see what we got here. Alrighty. So yeah, this happened, I think, at audio cutout due to personal information. Or I'm actually going to censor that out. It happened in the morning, but I slept through it, so let's get going here. So I do not want to watch that. So Codex Necrons. Okay, so this is something that we were expecting. So I got to admit, though, the artwork on that is just amazing. So lore. Oh, great. So so they expand on the lore of the dynasty for the Silent King. Okay, so yeah, there's that. They have new rules. Okay, let's see what they got. Each time a model with this code would lose a wound or as a result of a mortal wound, roll a d6. Okay, so it basically has a 5-up feel, no pain for mortal wounds. Each time a unit with this code is selected to shoot or fight, you can reroll 1 wound roll. Okay, so it's just a blanket. You get a free wound reroll with every attack. When Protocol of the Undying Legions becomes active for your army, if every unit in your army, excluding Dynastic Agent and Catan Shard units, has this code, you can select both of that command protocol's directives instead of command protocols. What? Oh, they're talking about it right here. Consider it one of the perks of biotransference, which enables Necrons to have high status to impose their will among those who serve them. Okay, so might through right. Yeah, interesting. If your army of Necrons hails from the same dynasty and is led by a character with the noble keyword, then at the start of the game you can secretly assign one of 6 command protocols to utilize during each battle round. After revealing your selected command protocol, you'll need to choose which directive you'll activate. Any of your units within 6 inches of your characters will then benefit from that directive. So let's see what this protocol is. Protocol of the Conquering Tyrant. So that's different than the one they mentioned up there. So the 2 directives are add 3 inches to the range of this unit's aura abilities to a maximum of 12, and increase the range of the following abilities to this unit has by 3 inches. Lord's Will, My Will Be Done, and Rites of Reanimation. This unit is eligible to shoot as Directive 2 in a turn when it fell back. But if it does, then until the end of the turn, each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack, subtract 1 from the attack's hit roll. Okay, I got to take a moment to process that. So, this unit's eligible to shoot. Oh, okay, so they can fall back, but they have a -1 penalty. Gotcha. So, again, I don't play Necrons. I play Dark Angels and Knights, but this is interesting, and it kind of plays with that dynamic that Necrons are just these cold, unmerciless machines that are just marching forward and are able to do whatever they want because they don't fear things. Just like a Stardate. Hold on one second. Okay, had to deal with something quickly, so... Furthermore, they can be given an... cryptex. There are 4 fully fledged cryptex divided according to their hyper-technological specialization, and each benefits from their own data sheet replete with a plethora of thematic rules. Okay, they're getting fancy with the language here. The Plasmanster that made its debut in Indominus was just the start, so the current cryptech, I think, is being broken off into its own type, and then you had this. That might also be what the 2 models were at the Necron models in that little image that we saw at the beginning. They can be given an array of cryptech arcana for a nominal cost and power of points, representing the wondrously estoer. How do you pronounce that? Wondrously weird techno-magic of the ancient Necron Empire. Not only can these items be handy in a tight spot, but they offer a versatile way to top up or round off your army list. Well, then again, what relic doesn't? A Chronomancer, for example, can be equipped with a means to slow down your enemies to a crawl at crucial moments. So here this is. Chronomancer model arm only. In your shooting phase, you can select one enemy unit within 18 inches of the bearer until the start of your next turn. Have advanced and rolls and charge rolls made for that unit. Okay, so you just get to slow down their movement to an extent, so that's fun. Necrons on Crusade. Okay, so this is the Crusade stuff. I'm not going to pay too much attention to that, but actually, you know what? Let's look at it. One of the things about Warhammer's newest and best edition is the narrative-driven Crusade system. The awesome things that every codex has a section dedicated to providing that faction with loads of new and wonderfully thematic options. You can look forward to faction-specific agendas, Rex, battle traits, Crusade relics, or in the case of the Necrons, dynastic epithets? Bespoke titles that offer unique upgrades or abilities. Here's what such example. Purchase this requisition after a battle in which your Crusade army contained one or more units with the Destroyer Cult keyword. Select a Lord or Overlord from your army that was part of that Crusade army. Remove that model from your order of battle and replace it with a Destroyer Cult character model from the same dynasty. Okay, so you can essentially upgrade your regular dudes into Destroyers. That's interesting. And then here's the Silent King model, which before they revealed the name of this thing, I was referring to it as the Godbreaker engine, but we now know it's the Silent King, so there's that. Let's take a look at this thing's stats. And again, I don't know Necrons that much. I'm just rambling on here for the sake of everybody. Hold on, I gotta deal with something again. Okay, we're back, and let's take a look at this. So, okay, so I think, so there's a triarchal something on here. So there's a character within the model, so it's got 16 wounds. Yeah, I'm not going to delve too much into this, so. The Ophidian Destroyers. Okay, this looked like the Scorpec Destroyers and the Canoptic Stalkers had a baby, because okay, so looking at the model, it looks like a cross between a Scorpec Destroyer, a Canoptic Wraith, and a Ravager from, are they called Ravagers? I think they're called Ravagers from Tyranids. So that is interesting to say the least. We got 3 of these things. Also maybe a little bit of Gene Stealer in there with the claws. So here's the data sheet if you want to take a look at that. Actually, let's take a look. Okay, so the Threshers makes additional attacks. The claws, it makes additional attacks. Shocker. Well, actually, that's really not a shocker because we've never seen this before, so there's that. Reroll a hit roll of 1. Okay, that's interesting. Each time the unit makes an attack with a Hyperphase Reap Blade, which is the one that doesn't get extra attacks, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores an additional hit. Okay, so it's either you get the guaranteed additional attacks, or you get extra strength, and there's a chance you'll get extra attacks. That's pretty well designed. Each time a melee attack is made against this unit, subtract 1 from that attack's hit rolls. Whip Coils. I wonder if the Wraiths are going to have that same ability since Whip Coils were on them in previous editions. Tunneling Horrors. Okay, there's the tunneling thing. There's probably where the Ravager thing comes in. So, yeah. And they made plastic Flay ones, and oh my god, that is, oh. Well then. And I thought the old ones looked creepy. These look... And I think it has something to do with like the weathered metal effect, but these just really sell it. Right, each time this unit makes a melee attack against an enemy non-vehicle, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores an additional hit. Here's the Chronomancer. So that's interesting. Yeah, I think this was one of the models they showed off at the beginning. Chronomancers are masters of temporal manipulation. One of their favorite party tricks, and what battle is not a glorified party, is to use the chronometron they bear to slow the incoming fire of enemies. You can select a friendly dynasty unit within 9 inches of this model. Until the start of your next command phase, you can reroll charge rolls made for that unit and have that unit has a 5-up invulge save. Okay. Now the question is, what are the old Cryptek models going to become? So, Psychomancer. This thing has a Nightmare Shroud, it looks like. So, While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of this model, subtract 1 from the leadership characteristics and subtract 1 from combat attrition tests. What? I haven't paid too much attention to the fine details of 9th edition, so forgive me if I don't know what that is. Space Marines, here we go. Primaris reinforcements incoming. Gosh, who could have seen this one coming? I sure couldn't have. The nearest thing to an actual codex of Stardate that they've ever made. Yeah, probably. It's so big and encompassing that it's enormous background, whatever. Every Loyalist first founding chapter. Okay, yeah, this is interesting. They decided to move like Dark Angels and Blood Angels from their own codexes into supplements for the main Astartes codex, which hopefully that means they get Thunderfire cannons finally. But honestly, I really don't care since I'm Dark Angels. I just want my plasma and I'll be happy. In addition to detailed lore on all the first founding chapters and some of their most famous censors, such as the Black Templars, Crimson Fists, new codex is bigger than ever with a whopping 98. Holy crap, we're almost at 100? Jesus Christ. Oh, actually with Forge World, we're over 100. Holy crap. Like, wow. And then the artwork, honestly, I like the Necron artwork better, as much as I'm a Marine fanboy, so there's that. Existing codex supplements. It'll serve as a core book for future supplements that will formally reintroduce each chapter's bespoke units and characters. Existing supplements such as Ultramarines will still be compatible with the new book and will be providing the Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Death Watch, and Space Wolves rules to get you by rules, so you'll be good from the outset. Okay, so that's good. So they're pulling a miniature 8th edition with this codex, and it looks like that Grey Knights will still have their own codex, which makes sense because they are just completely different from anything else. So. The book is chock full of supplemental Crusade rules. One of our favorites is the requisition even in death I still serve. Purchase this requisition when an Astartes character unit accept a vehicle unit from your Crusade Forge gains their second or subsequent battle scar. Okay, so this is probably them like dying in battle and then like being healed up or something. Remove that character from your order of battle and replace it with a Dreadnought. Ooh. You can only add a Psych or Dreadnought if the character it was replacing was a Psych. Oh. Okay, so you're actually, like, taking the chapter's honored and putting it in a Dreadnought. That's kind of cool. Like, this is probably more of a lore thing than anything else, but Crusade is a narrative thing, and that makes perfect sense, so that's fun. Now, I wonder, though, if you could put a Primaris Marine into a regular Dreadnought or a regular Marine character into a Redemptor Dreadnought. I'm not sure that would make sense thematically, but we'll have to wait and see for a ruling on that one. That's just one of the cool things you can do. There's even for an opportunity for one of your firstborn characters to brave crossing the Rubicon Primaris. Okay, so you can cross over that. Doing so doesn't come without risk. That makes sense. New Codex has consolidated many of the popular rules that first made an appearance in the various Psychic Awakening books. Chapter command rules are one such example, meaning you'll be able to upgrade your chapter's chaplains, librarians, tech marines are out on that now, and a variety of other characters to the head of their order, but this costs us a small amount of points of power instead of using a stratagem. Okay, so they show off a chaplain there, but tech marines are on that. Interesting. So maybe they'll get a specialty for repairing a specific type of vehicle, like you could get +1 to repair rolls for Razorbacks, or +1 to repair rolls for repulsors or something like that. I don't know. That could be interesting. We've already shown you some of the brand new Astartes units, but to save you from struggling with all ID units, we'll deal with that in a moment. Masters of Sanctity. Okay, so this is the thing they were just talking about, so this is one for the chaplains. This model knows one additional litany of battle in your command phase. If this model is on the battle, it can recite an additional litany that has not been recited by a friendly model. Okay, so if you have only one chaplain, you get 2 litanies, so there's that. Relics and Warlord traits. The Warlord trait is each time this Warlord recites a litany, add 1 to the roll to see if it is inspiring. Just helps get it off. If this Warlord is selected to use the commanding oratory stratagem, the stratagem costs 1 command point. Okay, so you get a bit of a discount there. And then the Relic, the Emperor's Judgment. Each time an attack is made against the bearer, your opponent cannot re-roll the hit roll, cannot re-roll the wound roll, and cannot re-roll the damage roll. Okay, so basically just locks them out of rerolls. And for any of you people who don't play X-Wing, we had a similar ability to this in X-Wing on the pilot Midnight. Not being able to re-roll things is not fun. I'll just leave it at that. So, yeah. The bearer has the following ability: the Emperor's Judgment. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of the bearer, each time a morale test is taken for that unit, roll an additional d6 and discard the lowest result. Okay, so if I can throw this on a chaplain with a jump pack and then put him with a squad of reavers, that is going to be really interesting for some mind f***ing. So there's that. And also, I'm just going to randomly insert this here. Why did they give the Primaris chaplain this stubby little head? Like, I don't own a Primaris chaplain yet, but what I plan to do is cut that head off and replace it with like one of the ornate vehicle pieces from the Dark Angels Ravenwing upgrade frame. I did it with my custom jump pack chaplain that I built out of a Vanguard veteran box, so I'm gonna do it here as well, just because that just looks so wimpy. So okay, rant over. Oh, it's not a plasma incinerator. It's a bolt rifle. Captain with mastercrafted heavy bolt rifle. Yes, he's wearing Gravis armor. Boo! I see this stock and I think plasma incinerator, plasma incinerator, plasma. Oh, it's a bolt rifle. Unfortunate. Heavy bolt rifles happen to be the standard armament for heavy intercessors. Toughness 5. They're giving us intercessors in Gravis armor. Holy sh**. This is interesting to say the least. These guys, it's going to be interesting to see if regular intercessors are still better than these guys, because I don't know. And with these guys around, are tacticals going to be worth it? Scouts are always going to be worth it just because of their positional flexibility, but with heavy intercessors being a thing and regular intercessors being a thing, are tacticals going to be worth it? Because okay, so the troops choice situation, unless these are elites, in that case, maybe not. But just talking about the troop choice in general, scouts, you have the positional flexibility. Infiltrators, you have the positional flexibility, but you also have some denial things, or like how I want to use them, you set them up the field to act as your troops choices and a couple of min squads. You have a Primaris Company Master in the backfield with a couple of Hellblaster squads. And because of the comms array ability on the infiltrators, everybody gets the reroll. So that's at least a use for infiltrators. And cursors, I'm not too sure about them. Intercessors are just the best troops in terms of pure firepower, no questions asked. Or no questions asked, excuse me. But are tacticals going to be able to see play? Hopefully they will, because not every unit is going to be optimal for competitive play, there's no question, but we at least want to be able to use as many units as we can in casual games. So if these are elites, that'll at least help, but if they're not, that could cause a problem. But you could have up to 10 of these things in a squad? Jesus Christ! Heavy bolt rifle, 36 inches, rapid fire 1, strength 5, AP -1, 1 damage. They can just flat out take heavy bolters, so that's fun. Executioner bolt rifle. All the models in the unit can replace their heavy bolt rifles with Hellstorm or Executioner bolt rifles. For every 5 models in the unit, a heavy intercessor's heavy bolt rifle can be replaced with a heavy bolter. 1 heavy intercessor's heavy auto bolt rifle. What? What? Okay, hold on. So what? Doesn't say anything about heavy auto bolt rifles or heavy stalker bolt rifles. So, and it says it's their full data sheet. That's confusing, but let's just take a look here. Heavy bolt, Executioner bolt rifle, 42 inches, heavy 1, 5 -2 with 2 damage. Executioner heavy bolt rifle, same stat line except it's heavy 2 and 3 damage. And then Hellstorm is Assault 3, 30 inches, 5. Okay, so this is just an upgraded version of all the standard bolt rifles and heavy bolters. So 5, strength 5, damage 1, heavy Hellstorm bolter, 30 inches, heavy 4, strength 5, no AP, but 2 damage. So interesting, but that thing about the heavy auto bolt rifles is weird. So unless it's referring to the the heavy auto bolt rifle is the Hellstorm bolt rifle, and the heavy stalker bolt rifle is the Executioner bolt rifle. So it looks like this is the auto bolt rifle. Looks like, or honestly, I can't tell. I can't tell, but looks like this one just has a regular auto bolt, heavy bolt rifle. We'll have to see once the models come out. Okay, the Eradicators are getting their own kit. That's good to see. Oh, they can just flat out tote around multi-meltas. Okay, so this is definitely interesting. So honestly, like, these guys are definitely kind of geared as a replacement towards multi-melta Devastators, but I feel like multi-melta Devastators, you're going to have more guys with more firepower, but they're weaker. Meanwhile, the Eradicators are going to have a little less firepower, but are going to be tougher. So there's definitely a dynamic there you could work with. And this is assuming that the 2 damage multi-melta rumors are true. So, albeit this guy does kind of look like the standard multi-melta thing, so that's kind of fun to see. Albeit it's interesting how they're doing this handle thing, similar to how the Sisters of Battle hold their heavy weapons, but hey, it's something new. It's a new look for the Astartes, and it does kind of look cool, I will admit. So there's that. Okay, so it looks like this article has confirmed that multi-meltas are going to be, or not 2 damage, they're going to be heavy 2. So the melta rifles aren't a complete replacement for the multi-meltas, so that's cool. Each time an attack made with this weapon targets a unit within half range, the attack is a damage characteristic of d6 plus 2. Okay, so instead of the weird ability to roll 2 dice and pick the highest in the previous editions, you just get an automatic 2 damage on multi-meltas. So that's interesting, but having multi-meltas at heavy 2, again, does help differentiate it from the melta rifles, because previously they were the same thing, except melta rifles were arguably better, so there's that. The Blade Guard veterans are getting a multi-part kit, so there's these guys. Looks like they have the heavy bolt pistols, and these guys are just... The detail on them is just amazing, especially the shields. Like, the shields just look great. The Sergeant can equip a Neo-Volkite pistol. Okay, so the same one that the Lieutenant out of Indominus could equip. So that's fun. A multi-part Assault Intercessor kit. They can be assembled with hand flamers or plasma pistols, or even wield a Power Sword, Thunder Hammer, or Power Fist. Okay, so Dark Angel, so you know I'm going Plasma Pistol, Power Sword. So that's fun. That's a cool pose, I will admit. You still have your running poses. Oh, you can just have him draw a knife and turn into a Reaver for like 10 seconds. Grenade. Oh, you just have a guy with a grenade belt. That's cool. Albeit, actually, that would make for an if you have any of these spare parts lying around, it would make for an interesting conversion with regular intercessors with the grenade launchers on their assault rifles. So that's cool. You have one where the mag is dropping out. Yes. The 2 tactical squads I've built, I've always had one of my tacticals replacing their mag, but having this with the mag dropping out, that is so cool. I'm nerding out on a level I shouldn't be, but that's just cool. The Storm Speeder. Okay, so this is the Primaris Land Speeder. Oh, it's a 3-man operation. Okay, so this is kind of like the Land Speeder Vengeance with the 3-man operation. So you have the main guy, you have the front gun guy, and you have the heavy gun guy. So first up is the Anti-Infantry Storm Speeder Hail Strike. So you looks like you have an Onslaught Gatling Cannon, you have some Frag Storm launchers over there, and then you have the Icarus Auto Cannon, it looks like, or the Iron Hail Heavy Stubbers, rather. Yep, 2 Iron Hail Heavy Stubbers and a pair of Frag Storm launchers. Storm Speeder Hammer Strike, so you have a tri-barreled Melta. Okay, that's probably going to be Heavy 3 if I had to take a wild guess at it. And you have a missile launcher up here. What's the missile launcher? Hammer Strike Missile Launcher, Crack Storm Grenade Launcher. Okay, so it has Crack Storm Grenade Launchers on the side. Okay, so there's 2 separate pieces. And it has the Melta Destroyer. Heavy 3, called it. Hammer Strike Missile Launcher, 36, Heavy 2, Strength 8, AP minus 3, 3 damage. Okay, so this has a slightly lower range than the Typhoon Missile Launcher, but I think it has a slightly stronger AP, if I'm not mistaken. So Land Speeders with Typhoon Missile Launchers aren't completely dead. So there's that. And also, they finally did the Primaris Land Speeders, which makes sense because they've been always using anti-grav technology, so that makes sense. Wait, Ravenwing. If this unit is from the Dark Angels chapter, it has the Ravenwing keyword. Okay, so these things are going to be painted black, so that's going to be actually kind of cool to see. I was a little hesitant to the idea of Primaris being in the Ravenwing and Deathwing, but considering that most of the Raven Wing isn't in the inner circle, it makes a little more sense. The Deathwing, like with the Blade Guard veterans, I'm still a little hesitant on. I want to read up on the lore and see what the heck they did to even allow themselves into the Deathwing, so I'm going to hold off on that. So that's interesting. The Melta Destroyer, though, that's interesting. And then the Thunderstrike looks like a Las Talon and looks like some sort of grenade launcher. Okay, so this is a Twin Icarus pod. So this is a mix of an anti-tank and an anti-air variant. So that's interesting. The Land Speeder looks like it's still going to have its place because it does offer a slightly cheaper package with that you can get more of on the field. But if you need more firepower in a single package, then that's where the Storm Speeder is going to come in. So, and it looks like it has underslung missiles on the wings, so that's cool. Next in line, new books incoming. It looks like the next few books are going to be Space Wolves, Death Watch, Death Guard, and Blood Angels. Where's Dark Angels? Where the hell are the Dark Angels? Okay, so there's this new Death Guard Terminator. So Blood Angels, Space Wolves, Death Watch, Death Guard. Where are the Dark Angels? There might be a reason they don't have Dark Angels. Dark Angel. Oh, would you look at this? Dark Angels fans won't have to wait much longer. Your Codex supplement will be on its way early next year. What? The first Xenos Codex of 2021, this better mean we are getting Lionel Johnson. I know we just got him for Horus Heresy, but I hope to God this means we are getting Lionel Johnson, because they need another Loyalist Primarch, and he's like the obvious one. So let's go ahead and look at this guy. Well, honestly, what else is there to look at? He's got goo dripping off of him. He's got a Blight Launcher, or whatever this thing is called. I really don't pay attention to Death Guard. Kind of an organ-style pipe layout over here. Looks like some spikes there. This giant respirator, which gonna need one of those for the era of COVID, so that makes sense. Okay, I'm sorry about that joke, but it's true. Just be wearing your mask, please. Forge World updates. A brand new Imperial Armor Compendium book, so looks like everything is just getting slapped into one. So a brand new regimental doctrine for the Death Corps of Krieg. That's interesting. Return of some old favorites, such as the Orc Warbike on Boss. Okay, so there's that. And then here, Nova. Usually at this time of the year, we're at the Nova Open. Many of the cool reveals previewed here may have been shown off for the first time at that event. Unfortunately, we were not able to do it. We hope to be there at 2021. Okay, so Dark Angels are coming in 2021. That's all I care about, but hopefully this means Lionel Johnson. But in terms of everything else, the new Death Guard model, as much as I don't like Death Guard, it does look pretty cool, I got to admit. The Necron stuff looks pretty cool. Unfortunately, no new plasma stuff for Dark Angels, but the Heavy Intercessors, again, their situation is going to depend on whether they're elites or troops choices. If they're elites choices, it might not be necessarily the best idea to take them over. Well, you can't take them over Intercessors because they're not troops choice. But if they are troops choice, that's going to create an interesting situation with tacticals and regular Intercessors. So, be interesting to see how that plays out. They have the core keyword. Oh, that might mean they're troops. I'm not sure. The Eradicators, they're going to have their place, I will admit, but I still probably am just going to do drop pod multi-meltas just because that offers them a bit more deployment flexibility. Albeit if you... Oh, wait, you can't stick these guys in a impulsor, so that sucks. The Blade Guard Veterans, these guys are in Gravis armor, I'm pretty sure, so they can't go in an impulsor, which sucks. And then the Assault Intercessors, I might still have to get my hands on some of those just for the Plasma Pistol Power Sword Sergeant because Dark Angels, duh. And then the new Speeders, I'm going to definitely have to pick up one of these. I'm probably going to end up going with... I'm probably just going to end up magnetizing it, in all honesty. So, yeah, because it's good to know these things are going to have Raven Wings. So, and it's good to know that they're kind of like correcting it in the book and like putting it on the book in that... in the main book, I should say, so that way it automatically has it. It's like, if you're not from this chapter, you don't have it. If you're from this chapter, you have it. So, instead of, like, throwing it in a supplement, so that way, like, yeah, you're just... Honestly, I really don't see the benefit of that now that I think about it, but whatever. And holy crap, I've been talking about this for a half an hour. So let's go ahead and cut this off here, and let's move on to the next topic, whatever it is. Okay, so I wasn't expecting this to come out until sometime in early October, but here we are in the middle of September, and we're getting the previews for Wave 7.5, which releases, I think, at the end of October. I think October 30th is the release date. I looked it up a few minutes ago just because I saw this, and I'm like, wait, did they move the release date up? No, they didn't, but anyways, so the TIE RB, or the TIE Brute, I'm just going to call it the TIE Brute for the rest of this segment because that's easier. So this is, along with the HMP, or like the two most, or the HMP out of Wave 7 was what I was looking most forward to from that wave. This is what I'm looking forward to most out of the two packs in Wave 7.5. And then Wave 8 is just the Tri-Fighter hands down. So we'll get to that when we get there. That makes sense, but whatever. TIE RB. Okay, so looking at the dial first off. So red 1 turns, white 1 banks, 1 straight. That makes sense for a TIE Fighter. This is, I think, I'm not sure how fast this thing is compared to a regular TIE Fighter in universe, but it's nice to see a kind of mainline TIE Fighter have these turn maneuvers finally at a lower speed, even though this probably isn't a mainline TIE Fighter just because of these giant freaking cannons, but whatever. Blue, 1 straight is blue, so that's nice. 2 straight and banks are blue, and then the 2 turns are white, so pretty decent set there. For 3 speeds, 3 straight and banks are white, 3 turns are red, and it has 3 talon rolls, so that's your options for turning around, it looks like, because the only thing it has left is a 4 straight, so kind of a slow, bulky gunship style of ship, but not necessarily like a transport. But it's, how do I phrase this? It's more akin to like a B-Wing, or, yeah, probably a B-Wing or an ARC 170 is the best comparison I can make with the dial. So there's that. So now we've already seen Rampage. They revealed this one on stream, and I think I talked about this in the August Ramblings video. After you execute a speed 3 or 4 maneuver, you choose a ship in your turret arc at range 0 to 1. If you do, the ship gains a strain token, or 2 if you're damaged. It has 8 hulls, so that's not really going to be an issue. Wrote the rest of the stats, just so I can talk about it. 2 die turret primary, 1 die one agility, and then for actions it has focus, reinforce, target lock, a red barrel roll, and a rotate into a red calculate. So the calculate does make sense though, because these things have like integrated droid brains or something like that. So while the pilot is rotating the turrets, the droid brain can kind of perform that secondary function, I think. So that's a nice little thematic thing, in my opinion. As for the ability, rotating cannons, this is just like the RZ-2 A-Wing, so you can only rotate your turret indicator to your front or rear arc, and you have to treat the forward arc requirement of your equipped cannon as a turret arc requirement, which is kind of like how the TIE SF dealt with missile upgrades. So this is kind of mixing those two abilities, so interesting to see. And yeah, the stat line overall and the action bar, the ability is pretty decent, so albeit auto blasters behind you. Yes. Okay, Latandri, so PS3, while a friendly ship at range 0 to 2 performs an attack, if you are in the defender's side arc, the defender or the attacker may re-roll 1 attack die. Okay, so this encourages some flanking tactics. Now, in terms of jousting ships, what does the Empire have? Because most of their ships are arc dodgers, because TIE fighters you don't charge head-on. Interceptors are definitely arc dodgers. I think maybe TIE bombers you might be able to get away with charging head-on in order to get this. Actually, oh wait, it's this ship that has to be in the side arc, duh. Okay, so this is, again, it's just encouraging flanking tactics, so actually this plays into Empire strategies a lot more than I initially thought. I don't know what I was thinking with the fact that you need a jouster, but you pretty much use any standard arc dodger that the Empire has just to get out of arc, put this on the other side, and then kind of have this pincer maneuver kill box in a way. Or you could just use TIE defenders and charge head on, because that's always fun. So, albeit that TIE defender thing might only work well in Epic, we'll have to see, but overall, like, it plays into the Empire's natural strength of avoiding arcs, so that's fun. We have the Karida Academy Cadet, just a PS1, nothing special there. Onyx Squadron Sentry, PS3 version, same thing. And then we've seen the Maneuver Assist MKG 300 on stream. You reduce the difficulty of all your Speed 3 straight and bank maneuvers, which means that if you look at the dial, it goes from they go from white to blue, and then you get the white calculate, and you also get the barrel roll into the red calculate, so you just have more options for calculating, albeit I'm not sure how helpful the single calculate is going to be unless you can chain multiple of them. So, or of course you get it off a linked action, because calculate tokens, I've talked about this before a couple of times, calculate tokens are really only good if you get them as a linked action, or if you get multiple of them from a standard action. So kind of like what IG-2000 does with his multiple calculate tokens, what Vulture Swarms like to do, and then like we've seen with the rotate into the calculate action, and then this with the barrel roll into the calculate. So, and then we have the Target Assist MKG3 or MGK 300. Gives you the white calculate again, and then gives you a rotate into a white calculate. So this just improves the action you already have, unless of course you somehow need stress, which, if you can think of any cards that would go on this that give it stress, let me know, and just watch the rest of this segment before you start commenting that stuff, because I haven't read through this yet, like with all my preview article analyses, so I don't know if there's anything that actually does do that might help the TIE Brute. So we'll get there, but before you engage, if you have no green tokens and are not stressed, gain a calculate token for each enemy ship at range 2 to 3 in your firing arc to a maximum of 2. Okay, so it's just a way to daisy chain additional calculate tokens if you somehow have to burn them by getting attacked by a PS6 or something like that. So acts as a bit of a fail-safe maneuver, and I like that. So, and considering it looks like the highest pilot skill is 4, it's a nice fail-safe measure if you burn your calculator focus tokens because of getting shot by a PS5 or 6. The sync laser cannons. Okay, it looks like the TIE Brute is also going to be able to take these things. I'm not 100% sure if these come in the pack. And we already talked about this with the HMP in the special X-Wing edition of my ramblings and analysis that I did a couple weeks ago. But yeah, so that's now what, 4 ships that can take this and 3 that can take advantage of the calculating effect. Okay, so I kind of want to jump in here and kind of retroactively correct myself, because it turns out only one of the HMP pilots, specifically the Geonosian prototype, has the ability to take sync laser cannon, because it's the only one with cannon slots. So, I mean, technically the HMP can still take it, but it's only one pilot. So I figured I might as well throw this in here just to let you know that I am well aware of that. So, anyways, moving on. So there's that. It comes with ion cannon. It also comes with snapshot, it looks like, because they typically only show off the cards that are included in the pack. Ion limiter override. I think we've talked about this before, but in case I haven't, you can only put it on a TIE, ship with TIE in its name. So, and it's an EPT. After you fully execute a maneuver, if you may perform a barrel roll action even while stressed. If you do roll an attack die, on a hit gain a strain token, on a crit gain an ion token. Not sure this would be the handiest thing on a Brute, considering it already has the, well, if you have the maneuver assist, you can do the barrel roll, but it already has a barrel roll, but then again, it is red, so having the ability to turn it into a white barrel roll and only risk gaining a red token, perhaps that's decent, but there's probably some better options for it. Maybe like a TIE Interceptor if you need to do a K-turn and then a barrel roll in order to arc dodge, something like that. So there's uses for it, it's just maybe not with the TIE Brute. Or, of course, the V-Wing could also use it, because we've talked about this before, but that has the ability to ignore TIE-only restrictions, so there's that. Heavy laser cannon, we've seen Deadeye shot before. Ablative plating, we've seen that before. Yeah, that's really it. Wow, that's not as much as I thought it was going to be, so honestly, like, I'm still excited for it, but my anticipation of it has dropped a little bit, because I was expecting a few more new things, but then again, the majority of the things in this we've already seen, so I can't really be too disappointed, but it should be fun to see how this thing plays out, because this is like, yeah, this is the second medium ship we now have for Empire, so while that fact really isn't too relevant in and of itself, it should be interesting to see how this plays in with the traditional Imperial swarm tactics, especially with Latan here, or Lighten, however you pronounce that. That ability is going to be interesting, and Rampage is just Rampage just seems awesome. So, I mean, you take a damage and then you start dishing out strain tokens like crazy. So there isn't really any like dedicated like Imperial strategies to constantly dish out strain tokens. That's more like tie BA over in First Order stuff. But who knows? It could become a staple in Imperial lists. I'm not too sure, but overall, while it's not as exciting as I thought it was going to be initially, it still is looking to be fairly fun to mess around with. So that'll do it for this part. Moving on to the next thing. Okay, so we also have the Heralds of Hope previews. So we managed to get both of the Wave 7.5 previews in September, so looks like there's not going to be an extra video, so there's that. Anyways, I haven't dove into this yet. Cole has taken a look at it, and apparently there's some stuff in here that supposedly will piss Eric off. He was texting me earlier about this. Let me pull up the text to specifically quote him. Oh yeah, he's texted me, Heralds of Hope looks great. Can't wait to see the look on Eric's face when I read to him some of the stuff in here. So, there's, if that's a sign of anything, this is going to be interesting. So, and I should mention, in full disclosure, I really do not play a whole lot of Resistance. Again, most of the time I'm either playing Imperials or Scum. I'm diving into First Order, Republic, and Separatists. Rebels I've kind of touched on briefly in the past in First Edition, but I haven't really touched it Second Edition. And Resistance I just have zero experience with, so forgive me if I'm missing anything, because again, I really don't know what half this stuff does. So, anywho, let's dive into this. First things first, we have a what the hell? My screen is acting up. I'll deal with that in a minute, whatever. So PS2 T70, while you perform an attack, if the defender's pilot skill is higher than yours, you may change a blank result to a focused result. Okay, so on the one hand, the first part of the ability is at least an easy restriction to work with, considering a lot of PS4s and 5s and 6s are flying around. At least I think they are. I haven't really paid too much attention to the meta. Unless you're going up against the Separatist list in that case. Not as many. But the blank result to a focused result, I mean, now that I think about it, is actually a lot more useful than it seems at first glance. It just gets you an extra focus result, and if you're able to continuously chain focus tokens, there's that. Or for whatever reason, you have a calculate token, so there's that. Not really much else to say. Now, I have got to figure out how the hell to fix this, so give me 1 second. Okay, so it just didn't do the usual thing, so let's see this one. Okay, so then we have Kai Threnali? I don't know how you pronounce that. If anybody knows the pronunciation, please let me know in the comments. After you fully execute a maneuver, if you move through a friendly ship, you may perform an evade action. Okay, so PS4, this is basically the reverse of the full throttle ability that the TIE Defender and the N1 have. So instead of trying to avoid enemy ships, you want to run them over. Now, for swarm formations, this could possibly be decent. Albeit, I'm not sure if Resistance is the most effective swarm. No, they're not the most effective swarm faction. That title goes to Separatists easily, but I mean, because Resistance, from what I understand, is very ace heavy, so I really don't see you having too many opportunities to use this. Now, if you're playing something that's a little more close range and aggressive, perhaps you could pull this off, but honestly, this one, I'm just going to have to wait and see on. I know Cole's probably going to pick up a copy of this, so I'll have to do some testing with him and try to figure out if this is actually any good. I mean, then again, anything can be good later on, so keep that in mind. This is just my impressions of it right now with the knowledge that we have. So I don't want to fully discredit any cards because they could instantly get support in the future or they could get support in the future just makes them instantly better. So at the moment, not really feeling it, but we'll see what happens. Or maybe there's something in this article that helps me, or helps it. So, backwards tail slide. What the heck is this? So it's an EPT. It can only go on an X-wing that has its configuration equipped. Which, if you're playing an X-wing, you have the configuration equipped. So there's that. While you booster barrel roll, if your configuration upgrade has the closed side faced up, you can move through and overlap obstacles. Oh, okay, so And so again, for T-65s, it's boost. For T-70s, it's barrel roll. After you boost through an obstacle or barrel roll through an obstacle, if you are not at range 0 of it, it gains an evade token. Okay, so you can't just use it to like fully blow through a large asteroid, but to like go over a smaller asteroid or just skirt the edge of a large asteroid. Excuse me. It at least opens up some options in terms of where you can go and could help line up some pretty decent shots in terms of what you have for coming off a boost or a barrel roll. So, yeah, that is definitely interesting. So, that should help. I don't think you can do a barrel roll before you activate, so that really wouldn't help Kai or Chai. How do you pronounce that? I don't know, but so if you could do it beforehand, maybe, but we'll see. So, and then we have a new version of Snap. This was one of the cards that was revealed on an FFG live stream again, so we're starting to see all these things here. So, at the start of the engagement phase, each friendly T-70 at range 0 to 3 may gain a strain token to flip its equipped configuration upgrade. If it does, that ship gains a calculate token. Okay, so just a bonus action you can take, essentially. So, and it also allows you to flip your configuration if you absolutely need to in the engagement phase. I don't really know what situations that would be handy in. If you can think of one, let me know in the comments. But there's most definitely a use for it. I just really can't name it off the top of my head because, again, not much experience with resistance. So that's interesting. Integrated S-foils, attack position. Yeah, we've already seen this. Oh, wait a minute. Duh, flipping your S-foils into closed before you activate, and then flipping them over to attack. Okay, there's one use for it. Okay, so there's that. We also have Poe as a new version of that. So after a friendly ship at range 0 to 2 performs an action during its activation, you may spend 2 charges. If you do, that ship may perform a white action, treating it as red. And it's 2 recurring charges, so you can only use it once every 2 rounds, but it's at least something if you need an extra action for, like, if you need like a target lock or something, or target lock and then focus in the same round. So it's not the best thing ever. Whatever the original Poe is might still be better. I don't remember the effect off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure it's similar to first edition. I'm going to put in an edit here if I was wrong on that, but it's still at least decent. So there is some potential with it. So. Overdrive Thruster, this is another card we saw. It's a mod for T-70s only. While you perform a red boost, barrel roll, or slam, you must use a template of the speed higher if able. So, like, if you have Black 1 equipped, then this would take or be applicable. Or if you're using integrated S-foils and you do the focus into the linked barrel roll, it would take effect. So it gives you a bit more maneuverability options in terms of the boost and the barrel roll. Actually, it just changes it in general. It doesn't give you more options. So immediately take that back. And then with the slam action, kind of gives you more options, kind of takes them away. I don't really know. So it's only you only get 1 per squad, though, so that's also worth noting, too. Not really sure how useful this is going to be. It's definitely going to be handy for getting into the fight quicker or quickly bailing if needed, but not really sure like the specifics on what would work well with it. So, okay, R2 as a resistance astromech. It has 4 charges. During the end phase, you may spend a charge and a shield to remove a red token. During the end phase, if you have no active shields, you may spend 2 charges to recover a shield and gain a deplete token. Okay, so the red token removal, I don't really know how necessary that is. Could be decent, might not be. If we end up in a very deplete-heavy or strain-heavy format, or just red token dealing format in general, this might be decent, but at the moment that effect really isn't relevant. At the very least, the secondary effect to give you a quick shield, and you can only use it twice though, it's still fairly decent, just as a quick way to pop a shield back up if you fear crits are coming in anytime soon. So, like, what's a card that deals a crit? Magpulse Warheads. If your opponent has Magpulse Warheads and you need to stop a crit, you can just use this to flip a shield face up, so that way you can guarantee that the crit won't go through off mag pulses. So there's at least one use for it. The deplete token kind of hurts, but if you're running away, it's not going to really matter. So R6D8, it's a resistance-only astromech. While you perform an attack, you may reroll a number of attack dice up to the number of friendly ships at range 0 to 3 that the defender has in their bullseye arc. Getting into the bullseye arc is already tricky enough, but getting multiple ships into it, I'm not really feeling this one unless A-Wings have some ridiculous trick that lets them just directly get into the bullseye arc, which I highly doubt, because that would kind of break the game. So, I mean, it could be decent, but honestly not feeling this one too much. We'll have to just wait and see if anything else comes out in the future to help it. Underslung Blaster Cannon. Okay, so it's a cannon-only upgrade for Resistance X-Wings, so it's only T-70s. After an enemy ship executes a maneuver, you may perform this attack against it as a bonus attack. So it's kind of like a snapshot mixed with a first edition hotshot blaster. It's a 2-die primary at range 1. It is an ordnance weapon, surprisingly enough, so you don't get the range bonus. It gives you the rotate action. It's unlimited, though, so that's at least nice. You have to have a target lock on the ship, and when you attack it, your dice can only be modified by spending a lock for the default effect. So, I mean, it just allows you to get extra attacks in, so that's decent. You have to play pretty close range, though, so I mean, T-70s are durable, so they can get up close, and this isn't limited, so that definitely helps the case. So depending on the points cost, if it's like 3 or 4, you might see this slapped onto T-70s as an automatic yes, or automatic include in every list. But if it's anything higher than that, probably not going to be as good, just because it really wouldn't be worth it at that points cost with what it's offering for at what range it's trying to work at. So that looks like all the T-70 stuff. So now we're on to the A-Wing stuff, the RZ-2. Okay, so the audio cut out here, but it was just me reading the ability, which is after you perform a boost action, you may transfer an evade token to a friendly ship at range 1. I really didn't say much else here, but my analysis started right here. It kind of reminds me of how Separatists play with network calculations, so I mean, it kind of works, but not really sure how, like, if there are any specific situations. It's more like a generalized thing that, yeah, it's handy to have, but you're not always going to need it. So there's that. Merle Coben, this is another pilot that we saw on stream. While friendly ship at range 0 to 2 performs a primary attack, if you are in the defender's bullseye arc, the defender rolls one fewer defense die. Okay, so it only relies on itself to get in the bullseye arc, which is a lot more manageable compared to R6. So that at least already makes it decent enough. And of course, removing defense dice is always a good thing. I mean, it's why Wedge saw play for a long time in first edition Rebel lists. So that's this one I'm definitely in favor of. The PS1 is a bit concerning, but considering that it's meant as that it's such a low pilot skill, you could probably use this as a decent blocker and then get away with the bullseye arc thing a little easier. So there's that. So that actually looks like a lot of fun. Suralinda Javos, I think that's how you pronounce it. After you partially execute a maneuver, you may gain a strain token to rotate 90 or 180. At PS3, it's a sort of decent blocker, not the most efficient thing ever, but if you're ramming enemy ships, you can rotate in order to get shots on other enemy ships, or if they happen to fly back, or if you think they're going to fly past you, you can rotate in order to kind of anticipate that. So that actually is not too bad either. The PS3, for a blocker, though, is a little concerning, but if it was PS2, I'd be definitely in favor of it. PS3, you're going to have to be a little bit more careful with this, just because that you won't be able to, well, I mean, you'll still be able to block a decent amount of enemy ships, but there's a chance that you're going to be trumped in terms of when you're going to activate in the activation phase. So there's that. Snapshot, we've already seen that. Robbie Tice, is that, I think that's how you pronounce it. After you attack at range 1, if the attacker, or after you defend at range 1, if the attacker modified its dice, the attacker gains a complete token. So if they have like FCS or they're running a bunch of HMPs because of networked aim, this is a nice counter to it. It just shuts them down temporarily for a little bit, or not really shuts them down, just, well, depletes them, I guess. It's kind of why the token is named that, but just a nice way to shut down or reduce your opponent's offensive capabilities a little bit if they start choosing to fire on you. So it's not it's not like a super strong skill, but it's just something that's nice to have, and it's annoying for your opponent to deal with. So Starboard Slash is another card we saw. After you fully execute a maneuver, you may choose an enemy ship you move through. That ship gains a strain token. Then if you're in that ship's firing arc, you gain a strain token. Okay, so if you're able to fly over enemy ships, you can start punishing them a little bit. It's A-Wing only, but it doesn't say resistance, so you can use this on RZ-1s or RZ-2s, so you have some options there. So if you're running one of those, slap it on there. If you don't want to ram ships and you just want to fly over them, I mean the A-wing is kind of more of a blocker for sure, but in the event that you just have to fly over them, it's at least something. So there's that. And that is pretty much everything in the preview article. I'm not even going to bother trying to see how much we know is in the pack, because there is a lot of stuff in here. So I think that's going to be it for the X-Wing stuff this month, unless they drop like the ETA 2 preview next week or something. I don't know, but we'll just have to wait and see. So on to the next thing. Well, that was quick. So the day after I recorded that, I thought there wasn't going to be any more news, and then the next day they go and reveal the Quicksilver pack. Now, in my opinion, it's going to be pretty hard for this to trump the Wasp and Ant-Man packs, because those just look so fun. But let's see what this thing has to offer. So let's start off with the stuff here. We'll get to the hero in a moment. For the other cards, there's a random cost event. None of these things I can't make out, so let's just move on. So Quicksilver in hero mode is 1/1/1, so not exactly the best at anything. After you use one of his basic powers, ready him once per phase. Okay, so essentially you have the ability to split where you're going with like thwarts and attacks. Also makes him a fairly decent drone counter, because, you know, extra attack and you just can pop drones, unless they have that upgrade that gives them extra defense or extra health or whatever, then it's a problem, but whatever. So in terms of his alter ego mode, 3 recover. I almost said recreation, like, I don't know, but as an action, you discard 2 from your hand and draw 2, but you draw 3 if Wanda Maximoff is in play. We know the Scarlet Witch pack is coming, and I'm assuming there's probably an ally in here of Scarlet Witch. Wait, yeah, that would make sense. So there's probably a Scarlet Witch ally in here with the Wanda Maximoff subtitle, so we will see how that goes. But in terms of just having draw efficiency, it lets you get dead cards out of your hand, you draw additional cards. That's always a good thing. So especially if you've played any other card game with this kind of stuff, you'll know that's always a good thing, just to be able to get rid of dead cards. So I mean, it's the reason cards like, what was it? It was Zoroark and Pokemon is so freakishly good. Repurpose and Inspiring Leadership and Transformers, those are decent cards. They're not the best, but they're still decent. So always be running. It's a 1-cost event. Ready Quicksilver, nothing too fancy, just an extra way to boost up your boost up your stats essentially. So there's that. Reinforced Sinew. Quicksilver gets +1 attack. It's an upgrade that costs 2. So it definitely makes you have a bit more firepower. So then instead of like attacking just a bunch of low health enemies, you can start repeatedly punching a larger enemy or the villain or something like that. So that's at least nice. Accelerated Reflex. How much you want to bet this increases your thwart? Oh, it increases your defense. Okay, so 2 cost increases your defense. Same idea. And of course, the nice thing is he can actually unexhaust himself once per phase after using his defense. And it's once per phase. So, if I'm not mistaken, you could attack with him, unexhaust him, attack with him again, then unexhaust him at the end of the phase, then defend, unexhaust him via his ability, and then defend again. So that, he just gets to do a ton of stuff. So, maximum velocity, this one's probably the thwart, and no, it's not. Max 1 per phase, so we're seeing that restriction again. You get +2 of everything until the end of the round if you absolutely need it. That's decent. So yeah, and it goes through the entire round, so that's at least a positive. So yeah, that's looking interesting. It comes with the protection aspect. So armored vest, we've already seen this before. Never back down. I'm not sure if we've seen this before. I don't believe so. When you defend against an attack, you get +2 defend, and if you take no damage from this attack, stun the attacking enemy. Ooh, okay. So if you manage to nerf the villain somehow, this could be decent. Or if you're, well, I mean, actually most villains except Rhino, I don't think hit for too much damage. Some of the stuff out of Rise of Red Skull might hit for a lot of damage. I still have yet to test that, but we'll see what happens. But against some villains, this could definitely be decent. Like, I'm thinking like Claw specifically. Claw and Ultron. Well, maybe not Ultron. Claw and possibly the version of Green Goblin that flips back and forth between Osborne. I don't remember, but Claw for sure that'll be decent against. You have Multiple Man. After Multiple Man enters play, search your deck and hand for a copy of Multiple Man and put it into play. It's not unique. So it costs 4 to get into play, but then you get to put an extra copy in. Now, the question is, okay, so you can include 3 copies, so you really only get 1 search off of it. Oh, but wait a minute. You do get, it isn't just when you play it from your hand, you get to, it's from, bleh. It's any time it comes into play. So if you bring it into play from your hand by paying the cost, you get the effect. If you bring it from the deck, you get the effect. So you could essentially pay 4 and get 3 allies out. So that makes the cost a lot more reasonable. So it still is a little annoying, but when you realize what you're getting, it makes a lot more sense. The 1 attack, 1 thwart thing, and 2 health also kind of sucks, but again, you're getting 3 of these things, so you can't really complain. But again, like I said, it was going to be hard for this, in my opinion, to live up to Wasp and Ant-Man, but definitely got some unique shenanigans, and we'll have to see what the other cards are when this comes around, because we know there are some cards we don't know. Speed Cyclone, Double Time, we'll just have to wait and see. So, on to the next thing. Okay, so actually that was the last thing that I wanted to kind of fully talk about, but before we go, there's one more thing I want to mention, and that is this live schedule for FFG, October 22nd. This is the artwork that they teased on the Legends of the Dark box at the end of their Gen Con stream. I think this is the day when they're going to announce the new version of Descent. I am hyped. And depending on how much they show off, I might do an entirely separate video just to talk about that, because I love Descent 2nd Edition, and I've been bummed out that there hasn't been anything new for that, but more Descent is always a good thing. But with that little thing out of the way, hopefully you enjoyed what you saw here today. I know I can be incoherent at times, but that's kind of the way these videos are going to go, just because I don't script any of these, because frankly I don't have time for it. But hopefully you can put up with that, and hopefully you can look forward to next month's ramblings, which will for sure include at some point this Descent Madness, whatever it is. It's probably going to be its own separate video depending on how much I have to talk about, of course. But there's probably also going to be some Champions and X-Wing news in there. Yeah, again, I really don't know what's going to come up, so we'll just have to wait and see. So I'm going to stop here before I start rambling again. So that will do it for this video. Peace out, y'all.